we're not perfect. And so we're going to hurt people. They're going to hurt us. Yeah. But man, the things we miss out on when we're not in community.
Hello there. You're listening to the Girl Talk Podcast. My name is Carol.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Tricia.
We're glad you're here today. Hey, have you found yourself closing your blinds, closing your front door, and then wondering where everybody went? Are you isolated? Is that a healthy place? Let's talk about it. What do you think?
No.
It
is not a healthy place.
Always said no lone wolf Christians. There are no lone wolf Christians. You get picked off.
Nothing grows in isolation.
Yeah.
Except mold and
mushrooms.
It's
darkness.
People-wise.
People-wise. Yes. Well, I actually think back to that's what Jesus did. So Jesus, when he first started his very first ministry, his earthly ministry, he spent the first 40 days or whatever being tempted by Satan in the wilderness. All that 40 days was all that time of temptation. He's by himself. He's isolated. The enemy's like, dee, dee, dee. I see my opportunity because you're all by yourself. What? Yeah. Dee, 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 dee. Tapping him on the shoulder. Saying, "Hey,
bread.
Are you hungry? Just turn this stone into bread.
Yeah,
and
jump
eat."
down off this.
Right,
yeah.
and it's part of it's because Jesus was isolated, and he had this great big open door to get there. And so, what did Jesus do after that whole temptation season was over? He went immediately and put together his community. He went immediately and started recruiting all of his disciples, one after another, and created that community that he knew he was going to need, that he knew they were going to need. We're going to do ministry together. He created his community. So if Jesus needs that community, if Jesus is creating that community, shouldn't we follow suit?
Absolutely.
Very good.
And what do you find that is most often the hardest thing for people to buy into that, especially in church? When you say community, you're talking about moving beyond just sitting in a pew every week.
I have to share a piece of myself. I've got to be honest and vulnerable. And that just means that I can't be the shiny, perfect person that I have created myself to look like.
Or I can't be who I want you to think I am.
Right. Yeah.
Highlight reel.
Yeah.
I've created this great persona, whether it's on social media or with the smile that I've pasted on my face before I walked into church or whatever it is.
Maybelline.
Right. Yes. Right. Legit. And I know that if I'm in community, you're going to know things about me that I don't know that I really want you to know because I've done a lot of work to try to keep that hidden, even from myself. And so if I am in community, you're going to know me. And do I really want to be known? And is this a safe place for me to be known?
Yeah.
Are you a safe person? Are you going to tell all the other people about all my junk, or is it safe for me to be vulnerable here?
You can hurt me
you go through,
if you know me.
That's right. That's right. Are you going to hurt me? You go through all those things.
And I think probably the goal has been for not to get hurt.
Right.
Yes.
Because maybe you've been hurt.
Right. But actually, not being vulnerable is the greater evil. Because when you're not vulnerable, you aren't allowed to fully enjoy love and joy. You don't enjoy the full extent of that until you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
So it's actually counterintuitive in a lot of ways. I mean, I understand it because we run into a lot of people. We hear from a lot of people at the radio station that say, "I don't go to church now because I was hurt."
Right. Oh yeah.
And so
it's an easy place to get to.
Yeah, absolutely it is. But when did not getting hurt become the goal?
Or reality, really,
right?
In general.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
church or not,
wherever you are,
you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah,
it's like the whole statement of it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all, and it's so true. It's worth. Hurt's gonna happen. People are gonna disappoint us. We are gonna disappoint other people. It is the way people are. We're all broken people. Ain't none of us perfect.
Right.
I mean, y'all are pretty close to it. But in general,
who are you looking at?
I don't know who you're talking about.
In general, we're not perfect.
Right.
And so we're going to hurt people. They're going to hurt us. Yeah. But man, the things we miss out on when we're not in community, we're missing out. It's worth the risk.
Not only are we missing out, but the community, the body of Christ is missing out because we have a gift that only we can bring, right? I think we don't think of that oftentimes when you talk about community and being a part of the body of Christ. When somebody withdraws and says, okay, I got hurt, and so I don't go to church anymore. Not only are you missing out from the benefit of having other brothers and sisters walking side by side with you, but they're missing out because you're not bringing your giftedness and the things that God has called you to do and made you passionate about to the body, local body there that you used to be a part of. Now, I'm not saying that you ought to, go back to every place you were hurt and just jump right in. That's not healthy. And we talk about how you got to make sure it's a healthy situation. There's certainly a lot of toxic situations, and we're not talking about that kind. We're not talking any abuse and all up. There are a lot of different ways you can go with this. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about somebody didn't come to your Aunt Verna's receiving of friends and you were hurt, and so you didn't ever go back to that church.
I had a situation recently where I got my feelings hurt by a group of people. And it was one of those things, it was a church-related thing, too. And it was one of those things where it hurt because I reached out to them to invite them to something. And I felt rejected by this group. And I was so hurt that I was laying in bed at night thinking about it and thinking about the ways that I wanted to hurt them. I wanted to reject them because I had felt rejected.
Yeah.
And so I would, and even though I knew it wasn't the right thing to do, I was still doing it. And so I reached out to different people to help me to pray about it. And once I started talking about it, but it really hurt. And it hurt my feelings really bad and reminded me of rejection in my past. And all of a sudden I'm like, and here I am, in this church-related group, and I'm just, forget this, and I'm not going to go back. And, I brought the issue to a trusted friend, and I brought the issue to my therapist. And what he recommended, and my friend also, go back, forgive, and then take a look at this group and see if this is a life-giving group. Is this a group of people that you think are healthy, that you want to be with?
Yeah.
And then make the determination. Instead of making the determination when I was hurt.
Right.
He said, give it some time, then go back and look with fresh eyes. Is this a group that I want to be around? And if it is, you can go back. If it is not, then you can leave. But you didn't leave because you were mad. You didn't leave in the middle of your anger and your emotions.
Yeah.
So I thought that was helpful because I was going to isolate. I'm like, well, I'm not going back. I'm not doing that. But with a little bit of time, I've been able to forgive and I've been able to move forward. I've spoken to a couple of the people about it, and I've been able to just go, okay, this is a group, and it is worth the pain. It is worth the hurt because I am building a community, and I think it's going to be better than it was.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is so healthy, all of that.
Here's one of the things I think that we do, and we had a situation in my group at church with this, is I think that people get their feelings hurt, and they leave a group, and they go to another church or another group.
Yeah. I was going to do that.
And they take their wound with them.
Yes.
So they enter this new group already wounded,
right?
Which makes them prime for getting wounded again because they're still tender from this.
You're on the lookout for being wounded.
Yeah, and we talked about this with our group. This in this instance, this person was going to leave the church and go to another church, and I said, okay, if God is calling you to do that, then go. But if he's not, if you're just leaving because you're upset because your feelings got hurt. This is what being a part of the body of Christ is. We work through things together.
Yes.
We all come to the table and say, I was wrong. I made a mistake. I didn't react like I was supposed to react, and I'm sorry. And then all the parties involved can experience healing and can grow from that experience. But if we just church hop because we get our feelings hurt, then we go to that new place with another wound and another wound and another wound till finally you get to the point where you're like, I'm not doing this anymore because I am so wounded by everybody, and it's because you never dealt with the first thing.
Carol, along with that is if you don't tell people what happened, they can't make it right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I told a couple people, and they apologized. And that whatever. I mean, I know that's not the end result, but for me, I was like, okay. They didn't understand.
Yeah.
So much of the time, I think it's about me. It's about me. His reaction, her reaction, that situation. It's about me. It's not about me. They had all these other things going on.
Right.
You know, one person has a father who's in like end stages of Parkinson's. Oh, well, you know, she didn't do what I thought she was going to do because she was taking care of her dad. But if I hadn't found out about that, I was just carrying it and angered about it.
Right.
But like what you're talking about, community is telling people.
Yeah.
And having the dialogues and not just leaving out of anger and not giving them a chance to let you know what happened. Let me know what happened.
Well, and it's not the way we would want to be treated either.
Right.
You know, if we've done something to somebody and we didn't even realize we'd done it, you know, we certainly wouldn't want to be rejected because of something we didn't even realize we had done.
Yeah.
You know, and so that community, that conversation, it has to happen. It's important for that reason.
And the unforgiveness that you harbor in your heart hurts you, not them. Because just like you said, a lot of times they don't even know they did it.
They don't even know.
They didn't
Right,
even
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
right? So they couldn't apologize, or they couldn't make it right, or do whatever needed to happen because they didn't know.
And oftentimes people really do want to make it right.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
if they're, especially if they're your friend, they don't want to have hurt you. They don't want to have done something that brought you pain. And so if it is within my power to say, you know, I didn't do that on purpose. I'm so sorry that you took it that way.
Yeah.
That I, you know, gave that impression, or that I didn't honor you in the way that you needed to be honored, or the way I should have done the thing that I should have done. And that's what people want, that are in real community with you.
And, and after that exchange, you can take a second. I took a second to say, well, why did it matter to me so much? Like, what was I so upset about? So again, the healing of the person, the healing of you, the healing the community. I mean, it's a gift to stay in there and fight for that community.
And seriously, I mean, like, I want to think that you could just grow by yourself and you could live on a deserted island somewhere and grow closer to God every day. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't happen like that. God did not design us like that.
Right. Yeah.
Like I am a big extrovert, but the more I'm out with people, the more I've realized, the older I've gotten, that I need some time away to myself to kind of refuel. But after about 2 days of that, like, I'm jonesing for some people again. I'm like, give me some, you know.
Yeah.
God just did not design us that way. We were built to live in community, and I think that's one of the reasons why, because we can remember the grace that we've been given, and we can extend that to other people, which is the story of the gospel, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And how we live that out in community, I think, just really matters.
Well, I'm proud of you, because I know that you have shared that there were times in your life when you chose isolation.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is a go-to, and you're fighting through that. And you're learning different methods.
Yeah, and it almost killed me. I mean, and I don't say that just being dramatic. I will 100% tell you that I was in a dangerous spot. Isolated to the point of, and the problem was, on the outside, you would have never thought that. You would have thought I was the most well-connected person you knew. But I would go home and I would close the blinds and I would shut the door. And my daughter was small at that point, so I could do that, you know, because she didn't know any difference, you know. And it got to be like a really dangerous cycle. And I don't, if you're there right now, I just want you to know that you can set yourself on a crash course. I mean, I was headed for trouble, and I knew it. The whole time I knew it. I was like, I need to get somebody I need to reach out for help, or I need to talk to somebody, or I need to, and it was painful because you don't want to admit that you're at that place. But that's the benefit of being a community. We always used to joke whenever we would miss a couple of Sundays in church and the visitation community would come, we would turn out the lights and act like we weren't home. Like, I did that on a larger scale as an adult. Like, people came calling and I'd turn off the lights and act like I wasn't home. If you're in that place, let me just say, as lovingly as I know how, please reach out for help.
Yes.
Because this is the place where the devil convinces you that whatever it is going to make you feel better. is going to be the end all be all, and that's where you get into so much trouble. Be it a relationship, a substance, whatever the case may be. That's dangerous ground. Please reach out for help. Please reach out to somebody that you trust. Please reach out to a pastor, a women's ministry director, somebody who can help you find the help that you need, because it can be very, very dangerous. And I only know that because I've been there. So how do we find balance between being in community and having our own space? I think this is a conversation about healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
We've talked about that a lot on the podcast, but if this is your first time listening, healthy boundaries is just knowing what is good for you and your family. Just like you don't invite everyone into your home the first time you meet them.
You should not.
Right?
That sounds like a great way for danger.
Yes,
to
it
come
is.
into your house.
Like, right? There are people that you wouldn't care if they're on your front lawn. There are people that you are really comfortable jogging by the fence outside your yard, right? And there are people that you would invite to sit on the porch and have a glass of lemonade. There are people that you would invite into your home to have a meal. All those healthy boundaries and things that
levels,
we...
right?
Yeah.
Levels of
Boundaries that we just don't even think anything about. They're just automatic in our minds. Same thing applies to our emotions and our emotional self in setting those healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Let me say this, and I know this is not popular, but you should not, underline not 2 times, ever sway on those boundaries with a member of the opposite sex who is not your spouse. And if you're single, dangerous territory. If you start talking to somebody and inviting them up on the porch for lemonade, you have to be very careful with that.
Yes, that's a good reminder.
And I think that's a very... I've walked with too many friends in that who got way too friendly and sharing about their marriage or other things with somebody who wasn't their spouse, and it led to danger. So I think that's another good thing to mention just about boundaries. But how do we find that balance between needing the time, especially if you're not an extrovert, if you're an introvert?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things you can do is find a group to join. And the first group you join, like if you join a group at church, if your church has those kinds of things, that might not be the right fit. You might have to look for a new group because you're like, oh wait, this was not the right group for me. I need to keep looking. That's okay too. But just get out there and find a group. Maybe it's, for me, it was a pottery class. I wanted to get out, and I joined a pottery class, and I loved it, and it's changed things for me. But you've got to just start finding that community of people to start to build relationships with in whatever way it is that the Lord leads you.
Could be at Little League with your kids, parents that sit in the bleachers for long hours on Saturdays.
That's a lot of time together.
Yeah. Stadium groups. Great place.
I think one of the important parts as you are building that community is to have a few members of that community that are different than you.
So good.
It's just it's such a helpful way of growing is by having different perspectives and fill up a lot of my friend group with people that are a lot like me. But it's also very helpful to have some that have different personalities, different perspectives, different priorities, and that really helps keep me grounded.
Yeah, absolutely. Good idea. Anything else that you would throw into the mix about finding the balance in between?
I would say, so, you mentioned this as it made me think about this when you were talking about the spouse thing, like replacing intimacy. So, you have certain relationships where you have intimacy, but there is something to be aware of. Who's really discipling you? That's a question, because I spent a lot of time with friends that did the same activities as me for a while, and I kind of wasn't spending as much time with my friends that were strong believers and part of my prayer group. I ended up spending more time with this group that we were doing tennis together and different kind of activities together, and I was spending more and more time with that group and less time with my group of friends that we make the intention to talk about prayer requests and stuff like that. And I could feel a shift in the way I was feeling. So ask yourself the question, who's discipling you? Be sure that the group that you're spending time with, the community that you're building, are ones that are going to keep pointing you to Christ.
That's good.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you can't spend time with other people, but I was really reminded once I kind of dove back into this group of praying friends how important that faith community is.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Anything else you would throw in there?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Good.
So, start somewhere.
Yeah.
A.
Open the blinds.
Open the blinds. Get out of your front door. Go to the ball games and do all the things that you have to do as a parent or as a spouse, and find people who have things in common with you. It's a great place to start. But also look at people who are going to disciple you, who are going to pour into you spiritually. It could start as simply as a phone call to your local church. Just say, I'm looking for a group, and they can probably point you in the right direction. A Bible study is a great place to meet other like-minded believers who may or may not. We've done a ton of Bible studies at our church, and some of the people you end up continuing a relationship with, the others that you don't. It's not because there's anything wrong with that. It's just because you click with certain people. And so that's a good place to do. And finding that balance is so important. Knowing the difference between healthy boundaries and being vulnerable with somebody that you trust, also very important. If you've got ideas or ways that you found community and good, healthy community, we're talking about good, healthy community, okay? Get that straight. Good, healthy community where you can grow as a believer, and you also can encourage others towards Jesus. If you have suggestions about that, you're always welcome to email us. girltalk@thelightfm.org is our email address. You can also check in on the Facebook page. There's a public page. There's a Girlfriends of the Girl Talk podcast page. Any way you choose to get in touch, we always love it. So let us hear from you. And we'll save you a seat next time we gather around these very microphones for the next Girl Talk podcast. We'll see you then.